phố Hồ Chí Minh năm 2024 và chương trình sẽ bắt đầu trở lại với các phiên thảo luận song song cùng với sự tham gia trình bày và thảo luận của các diễn giả trong nước và quốc tế xoay quanh các nhóm chủ đề khác nhau trong khuôn khổ nội dung chương trình của diễn đàn. Và ban tổ chức xin được giới thiệu chủ đề 3 phiên thảo luận trong buổi sáng ngày hôm nay có nội dung là vai trò của doanh nghiệp và các bên liên quan trong chuyển đổi công nghiệp. Và trong chương trình thảo luận ngày hôm nay, về phía lãnh đạo thành phố và các sở ban ngành chủ trì phiên thảo luận, chúng tôi xin được trân trọng giới thiệu ông Dương Ngọc Hải, Ủy viên Ban Thường vụ Thành ủy, Phó Chủ tịch Ủy ban Nhân dân thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Cùng sự có mặt của quý vị lãnh đạo thành phố, các sở ban ngành, các diễn giả và cộng đồng doanh nghiệp Việt Nam và nước ngoài. Một lần nữa, một tràng pháo tay thật lớn thưa quý vị. Và đặc biệt, ban tổ chức xin trân trọng giới thiệu điều phối viên của phiên thảo luận của chúng ta trong buổi sáng ngày hôm nay, Phó Giáo sư Tiến sĩ Nguyễn Quang Trung, trưởng khoa quản trị và trưởng nhóm nghiên cứu quản trị chuyển đổi thông minh, Đại học RMIT. Ông Trung có nhiều năm nghiên cứu, quản lý và giảng dạy tại RMIT Việt Nam. Trước đó, ông làm việc ở tập đoàn FPT. Ông được trao bằng tiến sĩ quản trị từ Đại học Monash, Australia năm 2011 và ông đã chủ trì, tham gia và công bố nhiều nghiên cứu trong các lĩnh vực chuyển đổi số trong doanh nghiệp và chính phủ số. Và trong phiên thứ 3 ngày hôm nay, chúng ta sẽ nghe phần trình bày của 7 các chuyên gia, diễn giả và lãnh đạo doanh nghiệp. Và tiếp theo sau đó sẽ là phiên thảo luận. Và ngay bây giờ, ban tổ chức xin trân trọng kính mời ông Đức Đỗ, CEO ET Labs, Chủ tịch Hội Trí thức và chuyên gia Việt Nam tại Australia sẽ lên trình bày tham luận với chủ đề cơ hội và thách thức của doanh nghiệp trong quá trình chuyển đổi công nghiệp.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Kính thưa quý vị đại biểu, với cái chuyên đề ngày hôm nay thì tôi ước là tôi có 3 tiếng để tôi nói chuyện với các quý vị, mà chúng ta chỉ có 10 phút thôi. Thì với cái chủ đề như thế này tôi muốn tiếp cận từ góc nhìn của công nghiệp. Tức là với những cái phiên buổi sáng nay thì chúng ta đã nghe rất là nhiều về những cái xu thế, về những cái mega trend, những cái vấn đề về chính sách. Nhưng cái vấn đề chuyển đổi là chúng ta phải va chạm thực tế. Thì tôi hy vọng là tôi sẽ đem được 30 năm kinh nghiệm tham gia những cái chương trình chuyển đổi, những cái chiến lược chuyển đổi ở những cái quốc gia như là Australia, Mỹ, EU, Singapore và Hồng Kông để hôm nay chia sẻ với các quý vị. Thì hôm nay trong cái khuôn khổ của diễn đàn thì tôi muốn đưa lại 3 thông điệp. Thông điệp thứ nhất là liên quan đến cái bối cảnh của chuyển đổi. Tôi biết là trong phòng hôm nay có rất là nhiều chuyên gia về chuyển đổi số. Nhưng mà đây là qua cái kinh nghiệm trong 3 năm vừa rồi, tôi đã va chạm rất nhiều về những cái dự án chuyển đổi số, chuyển đổi công nghiệp, chuyển đổi xanh ở tại Việt Nam, ở các tổ chức chính quyền, từ trung ương đến địa phương và các doanh nghiệp. Thì tôi thấy là có một số cái nhìn về chiến lược, chúng ta có thể có cái nhìn sâu hơn và thoáng hơn. Cho nên tôi sẽ xin phép được nói về bối cảnh, đó là cái điểm thứ nhất. Cái điểm thứ hai thì tôi sẽ nói về cái chuyện là nếu mà chúng ta nói đến chuyển đổi công nghiệp thì chúng ta chuyển đổi những cái gì? Thực tế, nhưng mà vai trò của lãnh đạo đưa ra tầm nhìn chúng ta chuyển đổi những cái gì? Và cái thứ ba là cái phương cách chúng ta tiếp cận để mà từ đó chúng ta có thể có những quyết định, đưa ra những cái ngân sách chuyển đổi cho nó đúng đắn để tạo những cái giá trị bền vững. Thì chúng ta đã biết rằng cái bối cảnh chuyển đổi công nghiệp nó có một cái sự liên hệ cộng sinh và rất là mật thiết đối với hai cái làn sóng chuyển đổi khác. Thứ nhất là chuyển đổi số. Thứ nhất là chuyển đổi số, thứ hai nữa là chuyển đổi xanh. Và chúng ta không nên có một cái ý thức rằng là chúng ta sẽ có 3 cái dự án chuyển đổi một cách riêng biệt. Tôi vừa nói chuyện với cô Anna này, sắp tới cô sẽ trình bày chúng tôi cùng làm với bên trong ngành năng lượng. Thì hiện giờ có rất là nhiều cái dự án chuyển đổi trong ngành năng lượng, nhưng mà hoàn toàn không có tố chất chuyển đổi xanh ở trong đấy. Và đấy là một cái chuyện chúng ta nên tránh, tại vì chúng ta sẽ bị chồng chéo và chúng ta sẽ phải có những cái sự tái đầu tư vào trong tương lai. Thì ở đây về lý thuyết thì chắc là các anh chị ở đây cũng đã nắm rất là nhiều rồi. Về chủ trương của Việt Nam thì chúng ta đã xây dựng, nhà nước thì xây dựng chuyển đổi số dựa trên 3 cái trụ cột: chính phủ số này, xã hội số và nền kinh tế số. Và trong cái nội dung của diễn đàn ngày hôm nay thì chúng ta quan tâm đến cái chuyên mục là kinh tế số. Và cái mục tiêu của nền kinh tế số là cái gì ạ? Nếu chúng ta là doanh nghiệp, chúng ta không có làm về sản xuất thì cái hướng đến của chúng ta sẽ xây dựng những doanh nghiệp số. Còn với cuộc cách mạng xanh thì chúng ta đã biết là những cái tiêu chí liên quan đến net zero hoặc là những cái tiêu chí phát triển bền vững, 17 cái tiêu chí phát triển bền vững của Liên Hợp Quốc. Chúng ta sẽ không nên coi cái đó là những vấn đề chúng ta cần phải tuân thủ, mà những cái vấn đề này cần phải đưa vào cái trọng tâm của gọi là chiến lược. Tức là chúng ta phải có được một cái nhìn để thấy rằng sự phát triển bền vững, phát triển xanh nó là chiến lược sống còn để chúng ta phát triển. Nó không đơn thuần nó chỉ là vấn đề tuân thủ. Đó là điểm thứ hai. Và rõ ràng điểm thứ ba là cái quy mô của cuộc chuyển đổi công nghiệp nó lớn hơn nhiều so với quy mô của chuyển đổi số. Tại vì thứ nhất là từ những cái dạng công nghiệp, thứ hai nữa là những cái dạng công nghệ chúng ta áp dụng, rồi những cái mô hình kinh doanh, những cái sự mà thay đổi của chuỗi cung ứng toàn cầu. Nó là một cái sân chơi của chuyển đổi công nghiệp. Thì cái cơ hội ở đây đối với những cái doanh nghiệp hiện giờ ở tại Việt Nam là thực sự chúng ta đang có cái cơ hội rất là quý báu. Chúng ta đã biết rằng là chính sách của nhà nước Việt Nam bây giờ liên quan đến cái chuyện mà chuyển đổi công nghiệp ấy, nó rất là tương đồng với chính sách của thế giới. Và trong cái địa bàn của thành phố Hồ Chí Minh chúng ta có một sự giao thoa rất là đẹp ở đây. Và chúng ta cũng đã biết rằng cái bức tranh này có thể là mọi người cũng đã thấy. Và tôi cũng không có muốn đưa ra một số những doanh nghiệp cụ thể ở đây. Nhưng mà cái vấn đề là gián đoạn của doanh nghiệp nếu như chúng ta không có chuyển đổi ngay lập tức là vấn đề rất là thực tế, đúng không ạ? Và chúng ta đã thấy trong những cái bài học lịch sử rồi, những đại doanh nghiệp rất là lớn. Họ lớn và họ thành công là tại vì sao họ làm công việc của họ rất tốt. Nhưng mà chúng ta phải ý thức được rằng chính cái mà làm chúng ta làm công việc rất tốt, đó chính là cái hố chúng ta đang rơi vào. Tại vì chúng ta sẽ không có cái tư tưởng thay đổi để mà có thể thích ứng được với những cái làn sóng công nghệ và sự thay đổi sắp tới. Cho nên là đây chính là cái mặt trái của những cái cơ hội trong cái giai đoạn chuyển đổi công nghiệp sắp tới. Thì chúng tôi ở trong ngành tư vấn chiến lược, chúng tôi gọi cuộc cách mạng công nghiệp lần thứ tư nó là một cỗ máy kỳ diệu. Thì tại sao nó là một cỗ máy kỳ diệu ạ? Tại vì trong một cái thời gian sắp tới, có thể là trong 5 năm, 10 năm, 20 năm, các anh chị sẽ thấy là có một đại đa số những cái dạng doanh nghiệp truyền thống, những cái nhà máy truyền thống. Và trong một quá trình chuyển đổi, rất nhiều cái sự thay đổi xảy ra. Và chúng ta nhìn ra đầu kia là họ trở thành những cái nhà máy thông minh và trở thành những cái doanh nghiệp số. Thì đây là dựa trên cái kinh nghiệm thực tế mà khi mà chúng tôi làm tư vấn trên toàn cầu, nó có hai yếu tố mà chúng ta phải quan tâm. Tức là thứ nhất, tất cả những cái yếu tố về sự phát triển của công nghệ ở dưới nó là cái nền tảng. Nhưng mà chúng ta cần ý thức được rằng bản thân công nghệ nó không trực tiếp tạo ra giá trị, đúng không ạ? Và cái tạo ra giá trị nó chính là cái tư tưởng mà chúng ta tập trung vào khách hàng, chúng ta tập trung vào người dân nếu chúng ta là chính quyền. Và chúng ta từ con mắt tập trung như thế này chúng ta mới tìm ra những cái giá trị mà thực sự thị trường họ đòi hỏi. Và cộng với một cái sự linh hoạt, đó là bên tiếng Anh thì gọi là agile. Và chúng ta có một cái văn hóa thử nghiệm và chúng ta liên tục thử nghiệm những cái sản phẩm và những cái dịch vụ mới trên thị trường. Và từ đấy thì sẽ có được một số phần trăm những cái sản phẩm và dịch vụ đó nó thành công. Cho nên là cái văn hóa mà những cái doanh nghiệp lớn mà triển khai những cái dự án đầu tư mà mấy trăm triệu đô để mà giống như là để nâng cao một cái năng lực chiến lược ấy. Cái giai đoạn nó gần như nó càng ngày nó càng giảm dần. Mà chúng ta đang đi vào cái giai đoạn là chuyển đổi qua văn hóa thực nghiệm. Và trong cái quá trình chuyển đổi này chúng ta cần phải rất là ý thức được chuyện là chúng ta phải cần chuyển đổi 4 thứ cùng một lúc. Trong giai đoạn 3-5 năm vừa rồi do cái chính sách chuyển đổi số của chính phủ Việt Nam chúng ta quan tâm rất là nhiều đến công nghệ và dữ liệu. Cái chuyện đó là chuyện tốt. Nhưng mà nếu mà chúng ta học của thế giới thì chúng ta thấy rằng là cái yếu tố mà quan trọng nhất trong cái quá trình chuyển đổi này chính là con người. Không phải là công nghệ. Chúng tôi có một cái châm ngôn là như thế này. Nếu chúng ta coi dữ liệu là vàng của giai đoạn chuyển đổi thì con người là kim cương. Con người là kim cương, cho nên chúng ta không nên quên cái chuyện mà xây dựng con người, xây dựng năng lực, xây dựng văn hóa doanh nghiệp, xây dựng văn hóa số và xây dựng hệ sinh thái cộng sinh cộng tác đối với thị trường để chúng ta có thể đi nhanh hơn, đi vững hơn và giảm rủi ro hơn. Và đồng thời khi mà chúng ta triển khai những cái dự án và áp dụng công nghệ như thế này và chúng ta quên rằng công nghệ nó chỉ là một cái công cụ thôi, mà cái nó cần phải chuyển đổi đằng sau nó chính là quy trình nghiệp vụ. Và khi chúng ta thay đổi một quy trình nghiệp vụ là chúng ta thay đổi hết cái cách chúng ta làm việc, đúng không ạ? Nó rất thường nó dẫn đến cái chuyện nó thay đổi mô hình kinh doanh, thay đổi cái cách chúng ta tiếp cận thị trường. Cho nên 4 cái trụ cột này trong cái chuyện mà chúng ta thay đổi và nâng cao một năng lực chiến lược là vấn đề mà lãnh đạo chúng ta không bao giờ nên quên. Thì cách đây mấy tuần tôi được nghe một bài nói chuyện của Tổng Bí thư Tô Lâm. Thì thực ra tôi rất là tâm đắc, tại vì Tổng Bí thư đã đưa 3 cái thông điệp chính vào nội dung sắp tới của Đại hội lần thứ 14. Thì ông có nói rằng là ngoài cái chuyện mà chúng ta phải xây dựng những phương thức sản xuất số, thì ngoài ra chúng ta phải xây dựng một quan hệ sản xuất phù hợp và chúng ta cần phải phát triển sáng tạo bền vững. Tôi nghe tôi rất là vui, tại vì cái này là hai cái câu rất là đơn giản thôi, nhưng nó làm chúng ta phải suy nghĩ quan hệ sản xuất phù hợp là thế nào ạ? Tại vì khi mà chúng ta nói con người tham gia vào quy trình sản xuất, nó không phải là chúng ta chỉ trong một doanh nghiệp thôi, dù là doanh nghiệp chúng ta lớn đến bao nhiêu, nhưng mà đó là tinh thần hợp tác với thị trường, tức là giống như là cái supply chain, giống như là một cái chuỗi cung ứng trên thị trường. Tức là chúng ta phải đẩy mạnh cái tinh thần hợp tác với thị trường qua những hoạt động đổi mới sáng tạo để mà chúng ta có thể khai triển những dịch vụ và sản phẩm tốt hơn, nhanh hơn, giá trị tốt hơn. Và ngoài ra chúng ta có một vấn đề rất lớn nữa là vấn đề AI. Tức là vấn đề ở chỗ là tham gia vào quy trình nghiệp vụ bây giờ nó có con người và nó có máy. Và sắp tới chúng ta sẽ có khách hàng là AI. Có một số quốc gia đã xem đến cái chuyện là luật hôn nhân là cho người máy. Cho nên xã hội, những cái nhìn của xã hội đối với AI bây giờ đang rất là thoáng, phát triển rất là nhanh. Cho nên là trong cái chuyện mà khi mà Tổng Bí thư Tô Lâm nói về xây dựng quan hệ sản xuất phù hợp, nó bao gồm tất cả những cái ý này. Và cái phần thứ ba là chúng ta có thể xây dựng phương thức sản xuất số và quan hệ sản xuất số phù hợp. Nhưng mà chúng ta không quên là chúng ta phải làm được hai chuyện cùng một lúc, là chúng ta phải xây dựng một cách bền vững và với tinh thần đổi mới sáng tạo. Thì cho đến đây tôi xin nhấn mạnh là cái quá trình mà chuyển đổi số hay là chuyển đổi xanh hay là chuyển đổi công nghiệp như thế này nó sẽ diễn ra trong một thời gian rất là dài. Đối với doanh nghiệp có thể là mãi mãi. Đối với chính quyền, đối với quản lý nhà nước có thể là sẽ có một cái điểm mà chúng ta sẽ nói là chuyển đổi số hay là chuyển đổi công nghiệp tại Việt Nam sẽ thành công. Nhưng mà về doanh nghiệp, tại vì yếu tố cạnh tranh, cho nên nó sẽ diễn ra trong một thời gian gần như là mãi mãi. Cho nên cái sự đầu tư và chuyển đổi doanh nghiệp hay là chuyển đổi công nghiệp nó phải có một cái hướng về lâu dài. Một điểm cuối cùng tôi kết luận bài tham luận là nếu mà chúng ta nhìn về những chỉ số của nền kinh tế ngày Việt Nam thì ngành sản xuất là ngành bây giờ là ngành trọng tâm, chiếm giữ ưu thế. Và nếu mà nhìn là cái ngành sản xuất như thế nó có những cái vấn đề liên quan đến phát triển xanh, liên quan đến phát triển số mà nó rất là khó giải quyết. Và nếu mà với một tinh thần như thế thì chúng ta nên tập trung giải quyết những vấn đề liên quan đến phát triển xanh, phát triển bền vững và những cái dịch vụ số ở trong sản xuất số càng sớm càng tốt để chúng ta giảm thiểu rủi ro. Dạ, xin cảm ơn quý vị.
Xin được cảm ơn ông Đức Đỗ với phần tham luận vừa rồi. Và tiếp theo chương trình, ban tổ chức xin trân trọng kính mời bà Anna Skarbek, Tổng Giám đốc điều hành Trung tâm Climate World tiến về phía sân khấu và trình bày tham luận với chủ đề vai trò của các bên liên quan trong hỗ trợ doanh nghiệp chuyển đổi công nghiệp. Please welcome on stage Ms. Anna Skarbek.
Thank you and good morning. I'm Anna Skarbek, CEO of Climate Works Centre at Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. We are focused on Australia and Southeast Asia region with headquarters in Melbourne, an office in Jakarta, Indonesia, and a team focused here in Vietnam. We focus on the transition to net zero emissions, and we develop evidence-based solutions to accelerate this transition. And we work with industry and government and the research community. Industrial decarbonisation is a very important focus for us. And we recognise that a new economic reality is on the horizon. Last year, clean energy contributed 10% to global GDP growth. with notable impacts seen in economies such as the United States, European Union and China, where clean energy sectors accounted for a significant proportion of their economic expansion. China's clean energy industry now drives 40% of its GDP growth. The new 3 pillars of supporting solar, electric vehicles and battery technologies are not only helping China build twice as much wind and solar capacity as the rest of the world, but are also key economic drivers. In the European Union, which has a strong track record of climate targets and policies, the clean energy sectors contributed 1/3 of the European Union's overall economic expansion last year. These major economies are strongly promoting clean industries, not only for the domestic growth agenda, but also for robust international market penetration, particularly in regions such as Southeast Asia. There is a strong case for Vietnam to pivot towards promoting low-carbon industries to align with global trends and economic growth opportunities. At ClimateWorks Centre, our approach to clean industrial transformation is built around 4 pillars. Put this one down. And these are attracting new industries and stimulating green exports, building the enabling infrastructure and supporting new technologies and upgrading existing technology, coordinating the skills and development and policies, and decarbonising the existing emissions-intensive industries with a place-based co-investment approach that can attract new investment and support existing industries to continue to thrive in the future zero-emissions economy. We see great opportunities for this in Southeast Asia and in Vietnam, and in particular through the focus of accelerating net zero industrial precincts. In Southeast Asia, there are around 2,000 industrial precincts, and this is a strong foundation for bringing the net zero approach to these industries. In Vietnam, there are more than 400. Many multinational companies in the region are committed to net zero targets and are part of the RE100 network, committing them to 100% renewable energy. And this can drive co-investment development efforts. We know that this city has issued plans to transform existing export processing zones and industrial parks. And we are excited to be supporting these efforts to support these industrial parks into high-tech, ecological, industrial urban zones, and to transform some existing industrial precincts into logistics centres with pilot transformation starting with 5 industrial precincts. The opportunity now is to work with these new decisions to support eco-industrial parks and to add the net zero clean energy plans into these supports. So I'll introduce some case studies from Australia focusing on net zero industrial transformation. The first case study is the Australian Industry Energy Transition Initiative. My colleagues at ClimateWorks Centre and Climate Kick Knowledge Innovation Centre co-convened this 4-year initiative with support from the London-based Energy Transitions Commission. We partnered with leading research organisations domestically and internationally, and we convened very large existing industries from Australia that were operating in industrial precincts in the mining sectors and resources sectors in Australia. Together, these 18 industry participants represented 1/3 of the market capitalisation on Australia's stock exchange, the top 100. What we identified together with the industry knowledge of the technology potential was, for the first time, a zero emissions pathway for these heavy industries in the 5 supply chains that we studied. These included aluminium, chemicals, metals manufacturing, mining. We identified up to 1.3 million jobs could be created from now to net zero 2050 and aligning with the Paris Agreement while doing this. We noted that investment by government, industry and investors could support up to 64,000 construction jobs per year and an additional 129,000 roles in operations and maintenance. These supply chains represent 1/4 of Australia's GDP and emissions. They're very significant, and together, in a collaborative pathway focusing on these industrial zones, we jointly identified the long-term roadmap for net zero. The second case study from Australia is a new government agency called the Net Zero Economy Authority of Australia. It has been established by the national government with 3 important roles. Firstly, to support the workers in existing emissions-intensive sectors, particularly coal-fired power stations and coal-fired emissions-intensive manufacturing centres, to transition to new jobs and learn new skills. Secondly, this new government agency will have a role to coordinate policy across government, recognising that there are many ministries involved in achieving net zero emissions, industrial transformation, worker upskilling and attracting new investment. And so the third role for this agency is to be a front door for investors, to help investors and companies access public and private finance and take up opportunities in the net zero transformation, including the new National Investment Program, the Future Made in Australia, which is providing over 20 billion Australian dollars for new industries in 5 sectors that have been identified as a competitive economic advantage for Australia and aligned with the clean energy, zero emissions future economy. And the national government is making an investment to help position Australia's economy to be competitive in the future net zero emissions world. So what have we learned from this work that can be applied here in Vietnam? The Net Zero Industrial Precinct opportunity for Vietnam provides a 4-pillared approach for collaboration. Firstly, industrial precincts create the clustering of industrial businesses. And this enables a focus on bringing renewable energy to these clusters and creating the shared infrastructure to distribute this energy and to cluster businesses that have an interest in harnessing this clean energy for their manufacturing and data uses. And the 4th important pillar is coordinated government investment. Governments play an important role in setting the frameworks, providing incentives, and helping these businesses and these clusters in these zones access public finance support. In particular, here in Ho Chi Minh City, there is an imperative for Vietnam's industrial sector to maintain its competitiveness and catalyse further growth. And as my friend Duc has already shared, it is very important to add net zero now to all the work on industrial transformation and supporting industrial parks. Firstly, we recommend develop the roadmap. Develop the Net Zero Industrial Precincts roadmap for Ho Chi Minh City to coordinate each of its industrial clusters, beginning with the first 5 priority industrial parks. This will develop the learning by doing and also create the framework for other zones to then do the same. Second, We recommend co-design these roadmaps with the industry and investors and the industrial zones owners. This was very powerful in the Australian example. I lead a research centre, but we made sure that the industry partners co-delivered the research. They brought their knowledge of the technologies and we brought our knowledge of the latest science and international developments. And together we created the shared vision of what is future success when the world has achieved the Paris Agreement and we have a competitive, thriving, prosperous economy that's powered with zero emissions. We brought together the businesses and solved for that successful vision. And they brought their knowledge of the technologies that were relevant to their businesses. And this co-design recommendation number 2 is very important. Number 3, focus on the workers. Understand the skills that are needed for that future success and provide policy coordination now in collaboration with the existing businesses and the new ones to enable the workers to continue doing the jobs they have today while learning the skills they need for the jobs tomorrow. 4th, showcase best practice and create a framework that can be copied around the nation that other businesses and public finance investors can use. And 5th, develop the strategic infrastructure planning. The shared infrastructure investment is a long-term project, and it's very important that we design now for Net Zero 2050 because the investments we need to make in clean energy for a net zero economy may be different than the ones we make if we're focused on only next year's targets. And that shared investment in infrastructure can attract new domestic and international investment, but also it is essential for unlocking the business growth and resilience for the future. My team look forward to supporting you to achieve these successful net zero industrial precincts here in Ho Chi Minh City. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anna Skarbek, for all helpful information. Kính thưa quý vị, và ngay bây giờ xin được trân trọng kính mời lên sân khấu ông Klaus Turco, Cố vấn Kỹ thuật trưởng chương trình Khu công nghiệp sinh thái toàn cầu GEIPP của Tổ chức Phát triển Công nghiệp của Liên Hợp Quốc UNIDO, phát biểu tham luận với chủ đề một nghiên cứu điển hình về khu công nghiệp quốc tế trong quá trình chuyển đổi.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. My name is Klaus Türke. I work with United Nations Industrial Development Program, and particularly when it to issues relating to industrial parks. And we have a program on eco-industrial parks. And I was really happy to listen to Anna that she brought the topic of industrial parks already now early in the session, because I was a little bit afraid when we were listening to the plenary. Everybody was talking about individual companies and how they're going to work in this new digital world. And I was sort of thinking that, do you all realize that we are all working in some sort of an environment, that there is these companies are located somewhere, and for this location, that what happens in industrial parks or clusters is that there are some opportunities there, and there are some risks there as well. When you concentrate production, you concentrate economic activity, it provides opportunities, but it also involves risks or considerations, at least for the local community, and maybe some concentrations of some environmental risk as well. So if I can get further on this machine somehow here. Yeah. So what we've done at UNIDO and some of the organizations that we work together with is really to look at this cooperation, and we have developed a concept of EIPs, eco-industrial parks. And in broad terms, it's really about collaboration. It's about collaboration between the different companies which are located in somehow managed areas, and how these, through this collaboration, cooperation, you can really get both economic, social, and environmental benefits from the cooperation. And for that, we have devised, we have some programs which are working on this, which are also, maybe we can take maybe before we go to the next slide, just to have a look there on that, also the cooperation is beyond the industrial parks, and it has the urban industrial consideration and dimension. So we have a program on global eco-industrial parks, and they are in 7 countries, generously supported by the Swiss State Secretariat. And the important part here is that while we have these various industrial parks we are working with also here in Vietnam, what is extremely important is also to work on the policy dimension, whether it's on national policies or local policies to enable the cooperation. I mean, we are in constant discussions, for example, here in Vietnam with the Ministry of Environment, that what do you want? Do you want to have a circular economy, or you don't want to have circular economy? Because, I mean, these are things which are restricted from the policy side. You can't. Yesterday I had a discussion here. You can't simply transfer a waste from a byproduct from one company to the next. That is not allowed. It is not allowed to recycle water in an industrial park, would you believe? Okay, next slide, please. I'm not just on some of these opportunities. What we do in the program is that we try to find these mechanisms, these areas of cooperation that we can have in the park, and these are just some of these opportunities which are there now. What I would like to add also to the opportunities that Anna was talking about, which are on energy, shared infrastructure, whether it's water recycling, whether it's cool district for coolings or other types of infrastructure-related cooperation. There's also a lot of services. And here you have where the digitalization comes in, where the different types of opportunities for the park to provide a breeding ground for innovation, which are extremely important also for these companies to thrive in this area. So it's not only about the physical part, but it's also about being able to develop and to cooperate with your neighboring companies and create something new. And this is maybe the part which is discussed less, though we have, of course, some of the clear results. On the next slide, I'm just going to flip very quickly through the type of things that we are calculating. We're working in 21 industrial parks and do efficiency work in hundreds of companies with materials, water, renewable energy introduction, and so on. So that's the results we have from the program. But we frame this in, and I think this is maybe also important to see on the next slide. You will see that this is all framed in an international framework on EIPs, where we have developed it together with our colleagues at the World Bank, also German cooperation, where we have indicators, clear benchmarks in 4 different categories on park management, environmental performance, social performance, and economic performance. And these are then further divided into 64 different indicators. And what we then do is that we work in these parks and industrial parks and trying to introduce this. And if you sort of reach all the indicators, we believe that you're an EIP. So what have we then achieved during the past 5 years that you see on the next slide? Yeah. Yes, very good, yes. So here you have, this is across the program, a progress from, say, like like 50% adherence to these indicators. We have an overall progress on 15%, and you see that there is the different categories where the park management is somewhat higher, but there is a great progress, and I think that what is important here also for the parks, that they have a framework which they can go along a path, and also for the policymakers in the country, that you have something that you can introduce. Because what you can do here with the benchmarks is that you can then have incentive schemes, or you can have some sort of roadmaps at the provincial level, national level, on how to transform industrial parks. For example, here in Vietnam, you may or may not know, but there are about 400 industrial parks. So it's not like the replicative effect is not small if you get your sustainability driven in through this type of processes. So, before we go to the Vietnam case study, which comes by other colleagues, let's look at the next, how is Vietnam then faring with the other countries. As you see, this is our look at this throughout the 7 different countries, and you see there's a steep progress in many of the countries, in most of the countries, and Vietnam is among those top performers in our program, and sort of reaching out there to about 70% of the benchmarks, and there is clearly a dynamism that is playing for this transformation from normal industrial parks to these collaborative parks. So maybe just summarize quickly the type of what we have on the next slide, what we've done. There is a lot of opportunities for EIP and for cooperation, which has been identified. We have clearly moved from company to company, from like a RSEP, like a cleaner production type of activities, to park-wide EIP opportunities. I think some of the results are still yet to come because, as you know, the infrastructure investment projects that take a little bit longer time to mature. Then finally, just on the last slide, on what are the important parts to take into consideration when you want to move your industrial park, industrial zone to a more sustainable approaches. Really, the key lessons are on the next slide, and they are just to do it in integrated way. Remember all the different dimensions, also the social dimension, the community. You have your benchmarks. You have to work on access to finance. These are important, especially for the park management. Remembering that the services can be paid by the tenants as long as they find it to be valuable. So inter-company collaboration, finding those champions, and then expanding it further to the urban sphere as well, with cooperation on wastewater management, on waste management, on different types of business incubation. That's the key. All right, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Klaus Turkup. Tiếp theo, xin được trân trọng kính mời ông Phạm Hồng Điệp, Chủ tịch Công ty Cổ phần Sinex, chủ đầu tư khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền, sẽ phát biểu tham luận với chủ đề một nghiên cứu điển hình về khu công nghiệp trong nước trong quá trình chuyển đổi.
Kính chào toàn thể hội nghị. Tôi là Phạm Hồng Điệp, là Chủ tịch công ty Sinex, chủ đầu tư khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền, Hải Phòng. Tôi rất vinh dự hôm nay được dự hội nghị của phát triển kinh tế của Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Bài trình bày của tôi có 4 vấn đề. Một là cái thực trạng hiện nay của các cái khu công nghiệp Việt Nam. Hai là cơ hội chuyển đổi khu công nghiệp từ khu công nghiệp thông thường sang khu công nghiệp sinh thái của Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Và ba là các cái vấn đề pháp luật mà chúng ta cần phải giải quyết hiện tại để có thể chuyển đổi được khu công nghiệp, và 4 là cái kinh nghiệm thành công của khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền tại Hải Phòng. Thế thì việc thứ nhất ấy là đối với cái bối cảnh chung thì chúng ta biết rồi, đại diện của UNIDO cũng đã có giới thiệu về cái lợi ích đối với lại cái việc mà áp dụng các cái vấn đề tuần hoàn, rồi áp dụng xây dựng các cái mảng khu công nghiệp sinh thái tại Việt Nam, và cũng có là thí điểm tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Hiện nay đối với khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền của chúng tôi thì chúng tôi là một công ty tư nhân, và chúng tôi quyết tâm làm cái việc mà xây dựng một cái khu công nghiệp sinh thái tiên phong tại Việt Nam theo các cái tiêu chí của Nghị định 35. Và hiện nay thì tôi khẳng định luôn với cái việc mà xây dựng khu công nghiệp sinh thái của Nam Cầu Kiền đã đảm bảo được các cái tiêu chuẩn quốc tế và có 3 cái hệ kinh tế tuần hoàn trong khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền. Chúng tôi đã có cái báo cáo ESG, và như vậy là gì? Là với các cái chính sách và các lợi ích mang lại thì chúng ta đều biết hiện nay bây giờ cái quan trọng nhất đối với khu công nghiệp sinh thái là tính cạnh tranh rất cao đối với thị trường, và cái việc thu hút đầu tư, các nhà đầu tư FDI bây giờ thì họ cũng đã giải quyết, họ cũng đã phải theo các cái tiêu chuẩn ESG, và tất cả các cái vấn đề sản phẩm của họ đã xuất khẩu ra nước ngoài, và Việt Nam đã ký các cái hiệp định EVFTA, CPTPP và 19 cái hiệp định AFTA. Thì đối với cái việc tích hợp giữa các cái tiêu chuẩn sản phẩm của các nhà đầu tư với các cái tiêu chuẩn của khu công nghiệp sinh thái là một trong những cái vấn đề quan trọng đối với việc mà chúng ta phải làm. Và lợi ích đối với phát triển khu công nghiệp sinh thái với kinh tế thành phố Hồ Chí Minh thì rõ ràng chúng ta đều hiểu là gì? Là thúc đẩy cái tăng trưởng kinh tế, phát triển bền vững, rồi khẳng định vai trò động lực của thành phố Hồ Chí Minh đối với lại đồng bằng sông Cửu Long, và tăng cường cái hình ảnh của thành phố. Nhất là thành phố Hồ Chí Minh đang phát triển là một cái hòn ngọc viễn đông của Việt Nam, thì chuyển đổi mô hình từ khu công nghiệp thông thường sang khu công nghiệp sinh thái nó đem lại một cái giá trị hình ảnh rất lớn cho thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Và đồng thời là với khu công nghiệp sinh thái thì nó là một cái tính cạnh tranh rất cao, và điển hình là nếu bây giờ chúng ta xây dựng được một khu công nghiệp sinh thái thì tôi tin rằng chỉ trong vòng 3 năm là khu công nghiệp sẽ được lấp đầy. Đây là một cái tính cạnh tranh mà chúng tôi đã chứng minh. Tiếp theo nữa là gì? Là thực trạng của bất động sản công nghiệp thành phố Hồ Chí Minh thì hiện nay rõ ràng thành phố Hồ Chí Minh là một thành phố mà đã có cái việc phát triển công nghiệp ngay từ đầu của đất nước Việt Nam này. Và cho đến bây giờ thì một số khu công nghiệp đã bắt đầu là chuyển đổi hết thời hạn cho thuê, và như vậy đây là cơ hội rất tốt cho thành phố Hồ Chí Minh kiểm đếm lại cái toàn bộ các cái sự phát triển của khu công nghiệp và chuyển đổi hoặc gia hạn các cái khu công nghiệp đấy từ cái luật đất đai năm 2013 cho đến luật đất đai năm 2024 này. Đây là cơ hội, bởi vì sao? Bởi vì chúng ta sẽ từ việc chính quyền tác động đến các cái nhà đầu tư khu công nghiệp buộc họ phải chuyển đổi. Và cái chuyển đổi này sẽ giúp cho phát triển kinh tế hạ tầng. Ví dụ như là cái luật đất đai, chúng ta thấy rằng là cái đền bù giải phóng mặt bằng rất cao. Và cái đền bù giải phóng mặt bằng rất cao này, nếu giả sử chúng ta tận dụng được cái hạ tầng cũ và chuyển đổi nó, đầu tư thêm nó và biến nó trở thành khu công nghiệp sinh thái, chuyển đổi, thì đấy là một trong những cơ hội. Còn một loạt các cái nhà máy, các cái giấy phép mà đã hết hạn thì chúng ta cũng có thể trao đổi với các nhà đầu tư. Đây là một cơ hội rất tốt cho thành phố Hồ Chí Minh chuyển đổi từ khu công nghiệp thông thường sang khu công nghiệp sinh thái vào thời điểm này. Vấn đề quan trọng là cái nghị quyết Trung ương Đảng của nghị quyết Trung ương Đảng đã trao cho thành phố Hồ Chí Minh một cái cơ hội rất tốt để thành phố Hồ Chí Minh tự quyết định các cái vấn đề đầu tư. Và đây là một tính đặc thù rất cao. Như vậy là là chúng ta cần có một cái sự quyết tâm của thành phố và có một sự quyết tâm của các cái nhà đầu tư hạ tầng khu công nghiệp thì chúng ta sẽ chuyển đổi được. Và với cái hiện trạng các khu công nghiệp thì tôi cũng không nói nữa, nhưng mà vấn đề quan trọng nhất là trong 299 khu công nghiệp thì hiện nay bây giờ chỉ có 1 cho đến 2% khu công nghiệp đã được chuyển đổi sang khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Đây là một trong những mức thấp mà chúng ta cần phải giải quyết. Thế thì nhiều vấn đề pháp lý đang hình thành và phát triển khu công nghiệp sinh thái, thì hiện nay bây giờ chúng ta đang có Nghị định 35 của Chính phủ. Và Nghị định 35 của Chính phủ đã tiệm cận với lại các cái tiêu chuẩn quốc tế theo cái tiêu chuẩn ESG. Và cái này thì chúng tôi qua quá trình làm việc thì chúng tôi thấy rằng là các cái vấn đề về từ cái Nghị định 82 cho đến Nghị định 35 và tới đây thì Chính phủ đang xây dựng luật về quản lý khu công nghiệp, khu kinh tế và xây dựng được các cái tiêu chí của khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Thì ở đây nó có một cái việc là chưa có một cái quyết định cụ thể về tiêu chuẩn khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Đây là một khó khăn cho doanh nghiệp. Và đồng thời là mỗi một cái doanh nghiệp phải tuân thủ các cái báo cáo và các cái thủ tục hành chính nó còn rất dài, bởi vì nếu giả sử cái thủ tục hành chính trong Nghị định 35 để chứng minh cái khu công nghiệp sinh thái thì chúng ta sẽ không làm được. Bởi vì từ cái công đoạn mà báo cáo lên ban quản lý khu kinh tế, xong rồi các sở ban ngành của thành phố, xong thành phố lại phải trình lên 6 bộ xong lại quay xuống thành phố để chứng nhận khu công nghiệp sinh thái, thì tôi khẳng định rằng là tất cả các nhà đầu tư sẽ không có tiền bạc và không có cảm hứng để đầu tư khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Thì đây là một trong những cái mà nhà nước đang khắc phục, mà tôi cũng được tham gia vào một số các hoạt động xây dựng cái luật về khu kinh tế, khu công nghiệp. Thì đây là một trong những cái mà chúng ta phải nghĩ. Và khó khăn tài chính thì thường là nếu giả sử bây giờ chúng ta chuyển đổi thì chúng ta phải đầu tư thêm cỡ khoảng từ 20-25% để phát triển thành khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Thì ở đây tôi có đề xuất chính sách với lại chính phủ và tất cả chính quyền là gì? Áp dụng mức ưu đãi đầu tư cho khu công nghiệp sinh thái bằng khu kinh tế, thế là đủ. Tức là gì? Là tất cả những cái mức ưu đãi của khu kinh tế thì áp dụng cho mức đầu tư khu công nghiệp sinh thái. Lúc đó tự các doanh nghiệp đầu tư hạ tầng sẽ phải tăng tốc và họ có cảm hứng để họ đầu tư, thì chúng ta sẽ chuyển đổi liền một lúc được tất cả các khu công nghiệp. Bởi nếu họ không chuyển đổi thì họ không cạnh tranh được, mà doanh nghiệp lợi nhuận là chủ yếu. Chính vì vậy mà cơ chế đây là vấn đề cực kỳ quan trọng đối với thời điểm này, và cơ chế đối với thành phố Hồ Chí Minh thì đây là cơ hội. Thế thì với cái việc mà xây dựng các cái khung pháp lý thì chúng tôi có những cái chúng tôi đã xây dựng thành công cái khu công nghiệp Nam Cầu Kiền có 3 cái hệ kinh tế tuần hoàn, và 3 cái hệ kinh tế tuần hoàn này sẽ giúp cho các nhà đầu tư phát triển tốt hơn. Tôi lấy ví dụ một khu công nghiệp của chúng tôi có 260 ha, nhưng mà kinh phí cái thuế đóng nội địa cho thành phố Hải Phòng thường xuyên hàng năm là cỡ khoảng từ 800.000 tỷ. Đây là một trong những cái mà ấn tượng. Và các cái doanh nghiệp trong khu công nghiệp thì họ hoạt động không có lỗ, không lỗ, bởi vì tất cả các cái vật liệu phế thải đều được tái sinh, và cái tái sinh đấy lại đem lại cái giá trị thặng dư cho họ. Đấy là một trong những cái mà cái lợi ích của kinh tế tuần hoàn. Và tôi xác định rõ là lợi ích kinh tế tuần hoàn là một trong những lợi ích tốt và lợi ích cho toàn xã hội. Còn đối với Nam Cầu Kiền chúng tôi thì vừa rồi cũng được UNIDO là đưa vào danh sách để tài trợ tiếp trong cái pha 2. Tôi cũng rất là cảm ơn tổ chức UNIDO đã giúp đỡ và hoàn thiện hơn về cái việc này. Hơn nữa là chúng tôi có một cái cam kết là chúng tôi sẽ chung tay xây dựng khu công nghiệp sinh thái theo đúng nghĩa tại Nam Cầu Kiền, và đem liềm cảm hứng này, truyền cảm hứng cho các nhà đầu tư trong cả nước để đầu tư, để xây dựng nhiều tầng, nhiều hệ cộng sinh đem lại hạnh phúc cho mọi người. Và chúng tôi rất mong muốn là chúng tôi đã đi tiên phong rồi và sẵn sàng hợp tác với thành phố Hồ Chí Minh, đem những kinh nghiệm xây dựng khu công nghiệp sinh thái để hỗ trợ cho các doanh nghiệp của thành phố Hồ Chí Minh cũng phát triển và xây dựng thành công khu công nghiệp sinh thái tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Xin trân trọng mọi người đã lắng nghe.
Xin trân trọng cảm ơn ông Phạm Hồng Điệp. Tiếp theo, xin được trân trọng kính mời bà Xumelin, Phó Chủ tịch phụ trách quan hệ doanh nghiệp của UPS tại khu vực châu Á-Thái Bình Dương sẽ trình bày về chủ đề một nghiên cứu điển hình về doanh nghiệp lớn dẫn dắt quá trình chuyển đổi và sự tham gia của SME trong hệ sinh thái mới.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Shu Mei. I'm from the UPS Asia Pacific region headquarters in Singapore, and I want to say thank you very much for the invitation from the Ho Chi Minh City People's Committee to speak at this event. Today I'm going to talk to you about some work that UPS has done over the last 2 years on supply chain resilience in collaboration with the APAC Business Advisory Council, Johnson & Johnson, and Access Partnership. Now, I don't think I need to explain why supply chain resilience. As businesses, you probably have heard enough about the importance of supply chain resilience and the ability to recover when there is a disruption or a crisis like we had during the COVID-19 pandemic. And earlier, we had heard about supply chain shifts and the mega trends. And you are probably wondering, as Vietnam and as Vietnamese businesses, how to capture some of these opportunities. And so today, I think from the conversation from this amazing table of speakers, I hope that you can see that you can be part of the solution as you go through your transformation. So I know we're a couple of years past the COVID-19 pandemic already, but and we need to move on. But I hope you will allow me to just recount a little bit of what happened by taking us back to September 2021. Delta was the dominant variant then. Vietnam had just undergone a couple of months of lockdown and starting to emerge, allowing businesses and factories to reopen. That's just for context. While Vietnam was starting up production again, good timing in the lead up to the peak season for Christmas, throughout Asia, unfortunately, goods were not moving. The port of Shanghai, where most ships in Southeast Asia unfortunately have to transit through, closed for about a week, and 160,000 40-foot containers were sitting on the dock waiting to be exported, with hundreds of vessels sitting offshore waiting to be processed. Things were no better on the air side, with Asia to US volume trending at a record of 8,000 tons a day, equivalent of 80 Boeing 777 freighters per day. And unfortunately, with key airports such as Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, another 3 airports where a lot of transit volume goes through, operating at 30% capacity due to closed-loop management policies. On top of that, there were also labor issues in the port of Long Beach, which then developed into this great big supply chain disruption. It was during this time that the cost of shipping spiked to its highest during the pandemic, at $11,000 a container, up 5 times from the same period in 2019. For reference, today's spot rate's at about $5,500 per container for Asia to LA lane. So it went up today $5,500, back then $11,000. That was the great big supply chain disruption. It was a time of great economic loss, experienced worse by small businesses who couldn't command any capacity or service, and smaller economies that couldn't get imports and exports out. We heard stories from New Zealand, from Chile, from Brunei, from Mongolia, even Myanmar. And many, like Vietnam even, were wondering how to reduce reliance on this common ecosystem that had served the international trade system, including global transportation networks, and establishing their own shipping lines to ensure that they were able to get imports and exports out. So today, supply chains continue to shift. And actually, there's still quite a bit of volatility right now. The conflict in the Red Sea has challenged ocean liners who have to take longer routes around the Cape of Good Hope to Europe, spiking Asia to Europe prices. The East Coast ports of the United States, representing 40% of their imports, are expecting disruption due to labor negotiations. Tariffs on electric vehicles and solar panels, scrutiny over Xinjiang cotton, which supplies much, as you all know, of the textile and apparel trade in Asia, also keep coming. But amidst these challenges also are opportunities for ASEAN and Vietnam as lead firms and manufacturers shift supply chains towards a China plus one model and supply chains become more regionalized. So I think we cannot, we have to know where we came from in order to move into the future, which of course is the transformation piece that we're all talking about here. And you're probably all eager to understand the opportunities. But I want to share with you some lessons learned, right? This is in 2023, we set out to capture the stories of the lead firms in food, consumer tech, consumer goods, and healthcare. We focus on lead firms because they orchestrate their entire supply chain, and SMEs can not only learn from them, but also become better suppliers to these lead firms. So let me just give you a few examples from a study that we did. So a US grocery conglomerate highlighted the importance of partnerships in sourcing food during the pandemic, which provided the flexibility in times of shifting demand. Using data analytics, forecasting, and information sharing, it was able to gauge demand and map out potential risks such as dependencies and exogenous factors such as climate risk. What didn't work so well for them in the US? Food distribution channels were rigid. Restaurants and groceries had their own networks, and so when the restaurants shut down, unfortunately, that they were not able to pivot the food that was supplied to the restaurants to the grocery stores. So that part didn't go so well. Another example, an established Chinese consumer technology brand shared that the benefits of its manufacturing models ranging from outsourced contract manufacturing to in-house design and manufacturing. So this is the OEM, ODM in-house model. This company established contractors in both China and Vietnam before the pandemic, which allowed them to then pivot to Vietnam manufacturing when China was shut down, and then vice versa, pivot to Chinese manufacturing when Vietnam was shut down. During the pandemic, they also pivoted between both in-house and outsourced manufacturing to keep up with demand. Today, with scrutiny on export controls and technology, the company has a good view of all of its suppliers, is fully transparent about its sourcing locations, its partners, and has a very robust code of conduct. So indeed, supply chain resilience is multidimensional, as you would have heard. Not simply about where one sources from, but also about the flexibility that it has across production, distribution, as well as delivery. Additional resilience is attained from the visibility that you can get over your suppliers in order to make this flexibility actionable. And how robust, this is what we're talking about here, how robust your business model is, your supply chain is in upholding product standards, trade compliance, consumer sentiment, sustainability, even cybersecurity. So how resilient are businesses in the Asia-Pacific region? In 2023, a survey of 1,250 SMEs in the Asia-Pacific region was done, including Vietnam, to understand how resilient their supply chains are in these dimensions. Interestingly, some of the findings, most firms post-COVID have vastly improved on digitization and improved their visibility of their supply chains. Having digitized as well as conducted supplier due diligence. Firms, however, continue to lack in the area of flexibility, continuing to operate supply chains concentrated on a limited number of suppliers, products, and trade lanes. Another finding, and this is maybe where the governments can step in, transportation warehouse and specialized logistics definitely need some room for improvement there. So something that governments can continue to look at. How do you think you will fare? So if you're interested in understanding how you're doing, allow me to just introduce you to this ABAC Supply Chain Resilience Toolkit, designed with simplicity in mind for SMEs to help gauge their supply chain resilience. The toolkit is available in English, Japanese, Korean, and today I am pleased to share that we have just launched it in Vietnamese. Later on, there will be a QR code that you might be able to access it. And to give you a sense of how this works, businesses will be invited to answer some questions around a select number of goods of your choice. You enter your HS codes, and then after answering the question, you will receive a report telling you how you perform in each of the 27 indicators of the 5 dimensions of supply chain resilience we talked about earlier. We hope Vietnamese businesses will find this tool useful as they begin their transformation towards supply chain resilience. Okay. Yeah, so let me just conclude by saying, of course, UPS, we recognize that for those of you that we have the honor of serving and being your service provider, our resilience, we recognize, is your resilience. We're redesigning our networks to maximize flexibility and connectivity. We're investing heavily in healthcare and cold chain infrastructure and premium precision logistics services. And we are developing tools to help empower our small businesses as they go along with this transformation and hopefully be part of the solution as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Xu Meilin. Tiếp theo chương trình, ban tổ chức xin trân trọng kính mời tiến sĩ Lee Yu-won, trưởng phòng nghiên cứu kinh tế và chiến lược tương lai tại Viện Nghiên cứu Trung Quốc CRI, kiêm đồng chủ tịch vùng của Hiệp hội Kinh tế Hàn Quốc, sẽ phát biểu tham luận với chủ đề nghiên cứu điển hình về hoạt động R&D và mô hình hợp tác đổi mới sáng tạo của doanh nghiệp.
Okay, good morning. My name is Yu Han Lee. I'm from South Korea. Today I will introduce my research paper here, the entire a study on the innovation ecosystem and performance of the manufacturing firms in the era of digital transformation in the case of South Korea. So this is introduction. So as we know, over the several years and COVID-19 impact on, sorry about that. I think this is the oldest version of the slide. The slide is different. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I can do it. So introduction. So today, I can control it. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is my oldest slide, so a lot of information over here. So COVID pandemic just impact on our economic environment and as well as the structure of industries and the technologies. And however, an importance of the manufacturing innovation is so important. So Korean government, in response of the digital transformation, in Asian countries like South Korea and China, Japan, even Vietnam, focus on the innovation, enhance the manufacturing competitiveness. But however, the Western country like the US and EU, they usually utilizing digital transformation technology for driving the innovation in high value-added service sectors. So today, I want to introduce my paper, like just more focused on the structure of the characteristics of the innovation ecosystem and manufacturing firms in South Korea and identify the key factors that influence the creation of innovation performance. And also, I wanted to share the implication for that kind of research-based conclusions to apply the manufacturing innovation in Ho Chi Minh City and across the Vietnam. This is a review. There is a lot of literature review about the innovation ecosystem model, but usually there is a few key factors about the innovation ecosystems. First one is element of the innovation ecosystem. So what is the key element of the innovation ecosystem? Usually based on the innovation creator and intermediator and also innovation user. But however, as you guys know, the triple helix model and industrial and academic and government collaboration also some kind of the triple helix model is one of the ecosystem or element of knowledge dissemination channels. Sometimes we have 4 different types of knowledge dissemination. The first one is public domain. Public domain, as we know, and publication and professional articles. And the other one is collaboration, like a professional meeting, like this kind of forums. And the other third one is IPRs and patent or something like that. And fourth one is venture creation. So we have some different between the slippery knowledge and sticky knowledge and knowledge dissemination channel. Slippery knowledge usually have lower cost of their dissemination, but sticky knowledge usually the more transaction cost, and also they need to geographic proximity. And also the other one is usually their innovation capability of the firms. They're usually inner tacit knowledges and codified knowledges and so on. And also what about also important about the government policies and their government financial policies, and as well as their technology policies as well. So now this is my model frameworks and data. This is kind of usually we have dependent variable is binary dependent variable. We take the large model. So I want to just skip this one. And also my research model first one. So first one, research model, usually innovation ecosystem models. We have 2 different types of model. First one is knowledge dissemination channel model. The other one is knowledge partnerships. So who usually use, what kind of knowledge channel they use? The public domain, collaboration, IPRs, or venture creation is highly positively correlated with their dependent variable and product innovation performance. And the other one is who is good innovation partners? Their affiliated firms or external firms or university and public institution and also government ministry or agency. Okay, so and the other one is innovation ecosystem model. This is one regression model, but we have 2 different types of the inner sector. So one is internal innovation capability, and the other one is the government innovation policy affect their dependent variable, the product innovation products. And also we control the variables. Okay, this is some kind of data. This is data, we have a unique data set from the Korea Innovation Survey data for manufacturing sectors. So we have 4,000 samples, and we have 2 different types of the group. The first one is high-tech manufacturing firms. The other one just conventional manufacturing tech firms. Okay, this is empirical result. The first one. So we are looking for the slippery knowledge and sticky knowledge, something like that, in a different group. The first one, high-tech firm usually prefer to the slippery knowledge, which means their lower transaction cost. There is no need to geographic proximity. But sticky knowledge usually more high transactional cost, but conventional tech firm usually high-tech, high transaction cost like sticky knowledge or something like that. Our next one is this is innovation partnership model. So who is good partnerships for the innovating and driving innovating in their manufacturing sector? So the high-tech firm usually the outside entities, usually like they pursue the open innovation approaches. They actively leveraging their external idea and technologies from outside. But conventional tech firm usually appear to follow the traditional approaches. They usually prevent their technology leakages and protect their IPRs and something like that. And also the result of the product innovation performance model. And also I have a little time, so I just key point of view I want to introduce. First one, their inner innovation factors, all of them are is significant in all across the models. But however, the government support is really different about that. So government support usually direct, the financial support is insignificant in all the technology groups. But however, the government technology support is somewhat significant in the high-tech firms and their capabilities. Okay, this is the conclusion. So the major findings of the conclusion is high-tech firm usually primarily utilizing their slippery knowledge channel and prefer to their conventional tech firm usually rely on the sticky knowledge. However, the high-tech firm usually first the open innovation approaches, then while the conventional tech firm usually internal capability, they want to protect their IPRs and something like that. So also in Korea, the specific result of that, in Korea, we usually good partnership with the public research institution. They play a significant role in South Korea, but unlike the Western country and US and other Europe, they usually universities are central for the innovation. But in Korea, they usually focus on the public research institutions. And furthermore, the government technology support policy is very effective and important in South Korea. So finally, implication for the Ho Chi Minh City and across Vietnam. The first one, developing the robust innovation ecosystem. So, and the other one is focus on the knowledge dissemination channel. So we have several different types of knowledge dissemination channel. So I think there are some different strategies to enhancing their the knowledge dissemination channel, sometimes slippery or sometimes sticky knowledge and so on. So usually high-tech firm promoting the collaboration with the global tech companies, university, and public research. And also the important thing is the conventional tech firm usually in innovation, research, and local partnerships and should be strengths to their protect in IPRs and knowledge leakages. And also upscaling their workforce is very important to establish their specialized training programs, partnerships with the global tech, the companies, and local university. And also the implement of the technology support policy usually focus on their support policy about like tech transfer or commercialization support or something like that. And also making the special economic zone or free trade zone or something like that. And also enhancing their infrastructures of supply chain resolution, and also promoting the open innovation technologies, so enhancing the manufacturing innovation in Vietnam and across the Ho Chi Minh City and so on. Okay, I'm apologizing. This is different slide, so yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lee Yu-won. Tiếp theo xin được trân trọng kính mời ông Stuart Arlinson, trưởng phòng quan hệ đối tác Việt Nam, quan hệ đối tác chuyển đổi năng lượng tại Startup Bootcamp, trình bày bài tham luận về chủ đề nghiên cứu điển hình về hoạt động R&D và mô hình hợp tác đổi mới sáng tạo của doanh nghiệp.
Good morning and thank you. And thank you on behalf of VASI, the Vietnam Australia Scholars and Experts Association. And on behalf of Startup Bootcamp, I'm the Energy Transition Partner. We're a global innovation partner. We work with clients in corporate venture capital, open innovation and corporate innovation. Our headquarters for sustainable fintech, ag-tech, food tech, and clean tech are in Melbourne with an office in Singapore as well. And we are so excited about the opportunity and the potential of Vietnam. So thank you for your attention for the next few moments. If I can move it. Right across all of our innovators, we teach everybody, we coach everybody to fall in love with the problem. And what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is briefly make the case for innovation. Then I'm going to talk about the challenges of innovation. And finally, I'm going to present a case for a proven model of innovation. I listed my startup on the ASX in 2017. I was introduced to Startup Bootcamp. I'd never heard of them before. The statistics of their track record over 12 years, I found nothing short of phenomenal. So I'll share that with you. But let's focus on the problem for the minute. And we've heard a lot about this morning in terms of the megatrends. It's our observation that those megatrends are actually impacting each other and converging and accelerating. I won't repeat what's been said this morning, but I just briefly want to touch on social media and Gen Z. A lot of our global clients actually say one of the most important reasons for being an innovative, sustainable organization is the war for talent. In order to attract the top graduates from the top universities, they can no longer afford to be doing things in the old way. That is actually influencing all of that circle that you see in front of you. And I just want to focus on the middle of that as well, because, you know, if we go back 5 years, we talk about incumbents and disruptors. My business was a disruptor. But actually now we've got incumbents, we've got new entrants. New entrants can come from adjacent sectors, be major players in those sectors, and then leap across. But we're also seeing a next wave of that, where the disruptors themselves are also being disrupted. And I want to just give you a couple of examples of that on the next slide. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. So who would have imagined, and this shows another point about supply chains and the complexity of supply chains. Who would have imagined that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine would not only have interrupted energy supplies, would not only have interrupted wheat supplies, but because of our food production and our food systems are so dependent on fossil fuels, that we would actually interrupt the production of CO2. And if you're having a fizzy drink today, bear in mind that that's made from fossil fuels. And it would impact the supply of CO2, which keeps many of our fresh food supply chains fresh. But also, that same fossil fuel is used to generate hydrogen. So we produce about 120 million tons of hydrogen globally at the moment, mainly from fossil fuels. And they, in turn, are used to produce hydrogen that then goes into the ammonium nitrate cycle. So every vegetable and every plate of meat that you eat and will eat for the next few days, wherever you are in the world, you're also causing global emissions. So just to illustrate that point, one of our startups, I'll cite a Portuguese startup, Agristar Bio, went through one of our programs in Tasmania 2 years ago. What they're doing is closing the fertilizer loop. So they're taking minerals extracted from on-farm production, recycling them, pelletizing them, and they're actually displacing fossil-based fertilizer. And then this other point, which absolutely floored me. So one of our startups in Bangalore, it is combining AI and material selection. So they've developed a solid-state lithium battery, and when I asked them, tell me just how AI has benefited your business, they told me our major competitor spent $500 million in 10 years. We spent $250,000 in 18 months, and we've got to the same level of development. So this change is accelerating massively, and it is a global supply chain challenge. Next slide. So that is the innovation adoption challenge. How do you make change when there is so much forces and so much uncertainty going on? And I'm going to focus on one thing in that list. You can read it, because what we see in the area of corporate innovation, it's a transformational change in organizations as well, and it has to come down from the top down. But it's a change in attitude to risk. And I want to talk a little bit briefly about risk, but it's also in acknowledgement that doing nothing, continuing on the status quo, is increasingly a risky proposition. And at the heart of those models, whatever innovation model you adopt, at the heart of that model, that question mark, is how do we build trust? How do we collaborate? And that's our finding over 12 years. Without trust, without collaboration, great ideas become orphans. Next slide, please. So we have a proven model. We've demonstrated over 12 years. It was pioneered in Amsterdam. It's been developed and enhanced in Melbourne and Singapore and elsewhere. And it takes the NASA TRL readiness. It overlays commercial readiness, investment readiness as well. But it's what we call the POC, the process of trust building, trust as a process. You will recognize, some of you, the business model canvas strategizer. We developed the POC canvas, which is a structured way of developing, designing experiments and testing those, and then iterating those, and then moving on. So you take increasing incremental risks rather than making big risks, and falling over. You take small risks and then adjust as well. And it moves through that gradual risk-taking process of proving value, then proving concept and piloting. I'm so delighted to see mention of piloting at the policy level this morning. Yep, that's it. And next one. Very briefly, and finally, I just want to commend Alliander is a network in the Netherlands. So the program was designed in Melbourne and delivered in the Netherlands. And they're facing what I would argue is a global problem. How do you accommodate more distributed energy resources, solar, EVs, batteries, EV charging points, on a grid that was designed for a linear production distribution method of taking power from large coal-fired power stations or fossil fuel stations and then delivering down through the system? So we co-designed with them a 3-theme program: energy hubs, real-time fault monitoring, and then predicting how customer demand would change moment by moment. So moving from a very aggregated forecasting model to very granular detailed forecasting model. A lot of those applications were AI enabled. We found the best and brightest ready-to-scale organizations, startups from across Europe, ran a program over 3 months, 10 startups, 9 proof of concepts were conducted inside that 12 weeks. 1 was deferred because of sponsorship needing to come back later in the year. 6 went ahead and now going forward into commercial pilot. And having done this for several years, those kind of statistics are really very impressive. And I just want to put it down to maybe one thing that I'd like to finish on, which is the importance of the executive team supporting that program from start to finish and having a game plan and then moving with that game plan through time. Last slide. And I'll just leave you with some statistics to look at, and I will say, come on, for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stuart Allinson. Và ngay sau đây xin mời quý vị lãnh đạo, các chuyên gia và các vị diễn giả sẽ cùng tiến vào phiên thảo luận nhóm. Và ngay bây giờ xin được trân trọng kính mời Phó Giáo sư Tiến sĩ Nguyễn Quang Trung sẽ lên để điều phối phiên thảo luận nhóm. Xin trân trọng kính mời ông.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizing committee to give me a chance to be here with our great panelists today. So we have only 45 minutes maximum before we go for lunch. Therefore, I start immediately by inviting our panelists to come to the stage. First of all, I'd like to please welcome Mr. Raman Chandra, the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce American. Please welcome Mr. Võ Hoàn Hải, Deputy General Director, Nam Á Bank, please. Next, Mr. Stuart Allinson. Thank you. Please welcome Mr. Arnold Chinoling, from Managing Director of BCG Vietnam. Ms. Saron Akzi, Founder, Managing Director of Italy Circular Economy. Thank you. And finally, Ms. Anna. Anna's not, because Anna presented this morning, but she have a MOU signing, so she may come back shortly. Thank you. Right. So before I start, I would like to come back to the very simple definition of what is industrial transformation about. We heard a lot, right? And then after that, I do a quick survey from all of you. Make sure you have the smartphone with internet connection. We do very quick survey. That's okay? So now can you move to the next slide, please, Tim? So this is the definition. Right, we heard a lot this morning, but this is a very simple definition on what is the industrial transformation about, right? This is a process of leveraging the new technology, innovation, and business strategy to reshape the industry, improve efficiency, sustainability, and competitive advantage, right? Competitiveness. So, why do we need this industrial transformation? You will have the answer later. Right? But now, like I say, can we do a quick survey from you so that we have an overview about what's happening at our communities right now? Can you go to this link, right? And then wait for us, 5 seconds, then you answer and typing the questions. I will give you 10 seconds to scan the QR code and hit to the link in there. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes? Not yet. Still. Thank you. You scan the QR code. It should lead to the Menti, right? Many of you done, right? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh. Next slide. No, you have to go to the Menti one. Go to the Menti one. We want to know, how is your firms ready and what are the challenges and what are the opportunities that we have. So that's what we want for this. And you know that this is, we have many, now we have, right? So let's get back. Next slide, please. Next one, please. All right, so this is the questions. Start to look into your phone and answer. Next slide, please, Sam. Right. Can you list 3 key challenges, right, that you have from previous questions? So you can type Vietnamese or English, please, from your phone. You should see it now. It come. No response, so it seems like there's technical things. Oh. Oh. Can you go back and see why it's not working with the... Yeah, this is the question, right? And right, the next one, please. Can you check your phone again and see it's working now? Can you type? No? Nobody? Ah. So it's a pity because I want to know from you. If otherwise, then we need to go to the next one. We tested last night, everything went well, but this kind of thing happened, right? So which means that we need to prepare more for digital transformation, right? So can you go back to the slide questions? Okay, so if not working, then I will go straight to the first questions of the panel today. So actually, we have already met with our panel. We want them to be well prepared for those questions. So let me start with the question from Dramasi, Chairman of the AmCham. What competitive advantage do successful firms gain through the industrial transformation?
Thank you. To start with, I think the amount of competitive advantage that industrial transformation gives is very difficult to kind of put into a 1 minute or a 2 minute answer. It's like way too high. So maybe one way to kind of expand the thought process for all of you is for me to start with quoting Mr. Klaus Schwab, who is the founder of the World Economic Forum, who has written a seminal book on industrial transformation. And I will quote from his book, because that will kind of set the scene for what exactly are we talking about here. So he says, the fourth industrial revolution is not only about smart and connected machines and systems. The scope is much wider. Occurring simultaneously are waves of further breakthroughs in areas ranging from gene sequencing to nanotechnology, from renewables, which we talked about in the previous presentations today, to quantum computing. It's the fusion of these technologies and their interaction across physical, digital, and biological domains that make the fourth industrial revolution fundamentally different from all the previous revolutions. So if you can comprehend that scope, it is finally about the fusion of all of these different areas of technology coming together with a human element. So the competitive advantage that you can get by bringing all of this together is just immense, right? So I'll give you a couple of very simple practical examples of how companies are trying to build competitive advantage. Think about Walmart. Walmart was a big box retailer, and everybody said, you know what, with e-commerce, digital, they'll just kind of they will disappear. They innovated. So as of today, Walmart actually does AI algorithms where they bring in a whole host of data, including local trends, social media trends, weather patterns, and whatever else is relevant to the area that the stores are operating in, and they're all connected. So by doing that, they're able to restock and destock their inventory and maximize their sales. So a perfect example of how a big box retailer has actually used connectivity and human factors to try and maximize their performance. And I'll end with one final point here. If you think about which are the most successful digital transformation companies in the world, I think none of you needs any introduction to that. It is basically Microsoft, who reinvented themselves from software into the new world. There is NVIDIA, obviously, and then there is Apple. Now, each of these companies has a market cap of more than $3 trillion. And if you put all the 10 largest Eurozone companies, their market cap is only 2.6 trillion. So it tells you the competitive advantage of these firms that have successfully reinvented themselves as with transformation, what it can do to your success. Because market cap is a true reflection of value.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Ochner, from your point of view of the large consultant company, so how you add to what Ramsey just now mentioned?
Thanks, and I'll share some of our partners and clients' actual results and examples. I think number one, competitive advantage is actually about survival, like having a sustainable business over the years, and it was mentioned several times. Number two, advantage we see in this industrial transformation is performance, actually across dimension. Financial performance first, can be top line, having the right product for the market, being sustainable product or more modernized product, but also cost performance. I think I was with a client last week who just deploys AI maintenance software, and first result is 20% productivity optimization with this AI bot for maintenance, and also valuation. So performance is number two key advantage. I think number three, who could be number one actually, it's talent. I think this new industrial revolution, the key asset will be talent. Who is able to retain, attract the best talent to gain, these new industries. So I think here, companies that are entering advance in these new sectors, companies who are, compliant with ESG practice, are stronger at attracting talents. And our latest ESG survey at BCG shows that 40% of millennials now have ESG as a top criteria to select a company. So it's really becoming a reality. And I think number four, competitive advantage is more collective benefit, I think, which by this I mean like it's critical for Vietnam to enter this new industrial transformation. It's critical to move to higher value services and industries. And as we know, the risk if we don't do this in Vietnam is to fall into this middle income trap, meaning the growth now and next 10, 15 years is in part mechanical and also relying on land and affordable labor. But I think in 10 years' time, if we don't do this shift, I think we will be trapped like some other countries.
It's very clear from all of our panelists that it's a lot of advantage, right? So firm must go. But what if firm fail to undergo, right? So I raise these questions to Mr. Võ Hoàn Hải. So what are the key risks for business that fail to undergo the industrial transformation, such as the green transition or digital transformation?
All right, thank you. So the competitive advantage you see very clearly already. In terms of risk, I can say like, the first of all, if the firm fail to undergo the transition in terms of digital or green, first of all, the firm gonna be left behind, so they're gonna not be part of the common and the share and the long-term goal of the whole humanity for protecting the green planet. So in terms of the business, we may face a lot kind of risk in terms of like losing the competitive advantage and also the business disruption in many ways. First of all, in terms of the productivities, so the robotics, the AIs, the fourth revolution is all about have the firms to improve the productivities and under the efficiency of the firm. So if they fail to undergo the transition, so they're gonna miss on the chance to improve the productivities. The second thing is losing the customer. That's not threat anymore, it's the fact. Because of the fourth revolution, it's very much on the customer centric, very much on the customer's behavior understanding, very much on the customer focus. So if they fail for the transition, they cannot get insights on what the need of the customer. So of course, they cannot produce and design any product that meets higher and higher demandings and need from the customer. The third risk is that they may lose the access to the market because a lot of like sustainable commitments that even the country or the industry a lot of commitments. So it's got to be like higher and higher barriers to get into any market. So if they fail for any transition, they lose the access to the market because of they fail to meet the sustainable commitment of any country or the markets that they try to get access to. So that's some key risks I want to share.
Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Hải. How about you, Ms. Saron? You have anything to add to this question?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to answer this. So actually, really, we are indeed witnessing a profound industrial transformation, as we heard everybody from this morning, and the growing scarcity, the industrial transformation driven by forces like digitalization and the urgent need to address climate change, and also the growing scarcity of critical raw materials. So now obviously businesses that fail to adapt to this new reality face a multitude of risks. And I can mention threatening their competitiveness, lower their profitability, and even their very survival. From my experience, after practicing environmental law for almost over 20 years now, and mostly consulting to the industrial sector, I will emphasize a specific risk that evolves from the green transition, and that is the stricter environmental regulations and also emerging circular regulations. So of course, believe me when I say we understand the complex relationship between businesses and regulations, and even regulators. But while they can sometimes seem like a burden, regulations can also be a powerful catalyst for change. And this is what we're trying to move on to the industry through our circular economy stakeholders platform in Israel. As we often say to businesses, if you encounter it when it's already in effect, it's an obstacle. But if you know about it in advance, it's an opportunity. And this is what we're here for. Now, new regulations are evolving, and there are different types of provisions. For example, some regulations set prohibitions such as banning the use of certain materials due to its environmental hazards. Others offer incentives like tax exemptions for businesses that utilize recycled materials. And actually, it's two sides of the same coin, and this is what we want to emphasize and enlighten to businesses. So businesses that fail to proactively prepare and adapt to these regulations may end up paying a heavy price, both financially and operationally. So deriving from this practical business point of view, the Israeli Circular Economy Platform offers an approach to manage this risk. We call it From Regulation to Circular Solution. It means a deep dive into your company's operations and the regulatory landscape where it operates. And we actually identify not just the upcoming regulatory challenges, but also the hidden opportunities for growth and innovation. We then guide the company in developing tailored solutions to navigate these complexities, turning potential threats into strategic advantages.
Fantastic. So the first two questions I'm asking our panelists. The first one is, what if we successfully do, right? A lot of advantage. And also Mr. Hai, also Sharon, just now sharing, we have a lot of problems, right? If we don't go for this. That's why, firms, particularly all of you here, coming from firm background or leading your company, we need to make sure to be successful in this industrial process. But the industrial process is, requires a lot of effort, collective effort from different parties, right? Business alone cannot be successful, right? So therefore, I'm asking the third questions. What are the distinct roles of business and government and academia and other stake partners? And would like Stuart to answer this question, please.
Such a great question, thank you. And I'll start with governments actually, but I'll defer to others as well. I think for governments and for all players with new technology, it's very easy to get seduced by exciting new things. I think government has an extraordinary role to create the environment in which those leading technologies and solutions will emerge without diving too much into trying to steer those, because that's the role of the investment sector and the private sector. My friend Mr. Lee and my friend Ms. Skarbek talked about one signaling, and I'd love to hear more about that, and less on maybe R&D and tax, although we're living in a world where there's a lot of money being created through R&D and tax. The next thing is for businesses, and businesses have such an important, remember I said fall in love with the problem. Businesses see the problem. They see the challenges that they've got, and that's the way that they can guide the innovators to actually address real solutions that can be brought to market in a relatively short space of time. We can talk about how long, but that fundamentally is the driver. Academia, it's such a difficult balance, because on the one hand, you're trying to balance the reputation of attracting research talent by the publication of papers, but the overarching and increasing demand on research is to be able to help get products to market. So it's actually a real balance between not over-researching, but it's also about finding the gaps. Quick example, we've just done a global search for a food sector client, and we've developed our own AI. We've found gaps in the market of about 10x that all other sources could identify. Important for academia to focus on the gaps rather than reinventing the wheel. I'll briefly touch on one final, and we haven't talked about it at all today yet, and it's the role of the advisory community. We've trained 45,000 mentors worldwide, and it's a really important job, and it's not about telling founders how to run their businesses. but it's about guiding them and helping them ask the right questions of where they are in their journey. And then at a more structured level, I'm a founder of the Advisory Board Centre. We increasingly see the role of advisory boards in the service of large corporates, but also increasingly in the service of SMEs in helping them ask the right questions about their business as they try to navigate these uncertain waters.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stuart. Now, with very rich experience, Anna Skarbek, could you please also share your view on this question, please?
Thank you. Yes, each of these sectors plays an important role because you are exactly right that it is a collective effort to succeed in industrial transformation. So I represent the research sector, and the benefit of the independence and evidence base of academia can play a really powerful role in convening industrial sectors and clusters or zones with business and government participants, as well as evidence-based science and technology participants. And the power of that is to develop the forward roadmap. Creating a shared vision is one of the most powerful steps for unlocking the shared value. And that the shared value is the benefit of this collective effort that we know no business can unlock alone. And in particular with the green energy transformation, there is an art for businesses to recognise that the market remains competitive, and yet you need your supply chain to succeed for you to succeed in the future zero emissions economy we are all committed to. So the role for government becomes very important in setting that framework, in making it much easier for all market participants to see what does a zero emissions infrastructure look like. Energy and transport are essential services, even when they're owned by a mix of public and private investors. So setting out roadmaps for shared infrastructure investment makes it easier for all market participants to be able to compete and to see what success looks like, and also for governments to help attract new investment to fund those upfront provisions of energy and transport infrastructure that are zero emissions. And for the business sector, a really powerful role is to do the business planning for what does your financing support look like, or your shared energy and transport infrastructure needs, or data and information needs, making your needs visible to government and other sources of public finance that want to support green industrial transformation success, that are currently designing new regulations for eco-industrial parks, for example. They need insight from business for what does the business model look like in a future in zero emissions digital economy. And that work is best done by the businesses who can help shape what business model, financing opportunities, and what technology success could look like. So together, collaborate around the shared vision and each contribute to your strengths so that you can solve those shared goals for the zero emissions economy.
Fantastic. If you listen carefully, you can see there are a number of stakeholders involved in this process, right? The business cannot just wait for for government. Most of the time, if you wait for people to help you, you will be out of the market, right? So they need to take a very proactive role in this process. So how can business take the proactive leadership roles in this process? That's the question I'm going to ask you, Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah, sure. Business, obviously, I guess a whole lot of you in the audience are representing business, has a pretty huge role to play in business transformation. Now, the tone has to be set from the top. The leadership, CEOs, the C-suite have to set the tone that we are on the path of digital transformation, and the entire organization has to embrace that. I think it's super important to change the culture from one of resistance to change to one of embracing and welcoming change, because change is inevitable, right? So unless and until the leadership and the management of the companies set that tone, it's going to be tough to transform. Secondly, people will get disrupted. Many of these processes and activities will get automated. Therefore, jobs will be made redundant. And that fear needs to be addressed first. So part of transformation, addressing employees and their expectations is super important. So therefore, the term upskilling and reskilling, these are two very, very important terms that management, senior management has to embrace. We have to ensure that any business that is getting disrupted, we are able to redeploy our employees by upskilling them. In many cases, having to even reskill because some jobs are getting automated and made redundant. And the other point I would also make is, as a firm, we have to be agile. I'll give you some examples. All of you have probably picked up these GLP-1 drugs that have now become the new rage of weight loss drugs, right? They are actually diabetes medicines being repositioned as weight loss drugs. It is a massive wave. It is, it's a rage in the US already. Nestle has started a new launch of a new product range called Vital Pursuit, which is foods that will supplement GLP-1. So you can imagine GLP-1 is hardly taken off, and the company has already innovated to start a new range of foods which supplements that. Another example, Nike, right? Nike Fit, right? I don't know how many of you are fans of Nike, but I am one of them. So they now have an app which allows you to use your smartphone with augmented reality to kind of check what your shoe size is and get the right fit among various types of fits. So the amount of innovation you can do, bringing the human and the digital together in a real-time, continuous basis is massive. So companies have to be proactive, but it is very important to ensure that employees are part of that whole journey.
Thank you so much. The keyword, one of the keywords, agility. You cannot be slow, right? So now the fast fish will kill the slow fish, not the big one. That's right? So thank you. I'd like to hear from Arnaud, because you must have dealt with many large clients, right? So what's your view on this?
Yeah, I think my co-panelists share many good points already. So I will add in a bit on this. First is actually transformation is difficult. I will quote another BCG survey. We ask 1,000 CEOs in the world, do you think your transformation ongoing is a success? 70% say it's a failure. So 70% of transformation in companies are seen as a failure, or not delivering the expected outcomes by leadership. And when we ask to the 30%, we think that their transformation is successful, what are the key factors? There are 4 things that comes. One is the case for change, or the vision of the transformation. What do you want to transform and why? Is it digital transformation? Is it green transformation? And what is the rationale for your business? And I think this is very important. Otherwise, we lose focus rapidly, and every month, every 6 months, there is something new coming up. So one is the vision and case for change. Number 2, again, leadership, and we say transformation make or break with leadership. So, and I have seen quite a few examples. If the leadership, being chairman, CEOs, are not fully on board, committed on the long term for the transformation, usually, this transformation disappear after a few months of not satisfactory results. Number 3, people engagement. I think same, building the right culture, communicating to your people to bring them into the transformation is critical. And the last one, we call it execution certainty. So basically, building, giving the tools, systems, training, and also transformation monitoring process to make sure, it executed on track. Would be my, 4 takeaways.
What we can learn from Arnaud just now is that leadership, if you are the boss of the company, you're not ready for it, chance very high that you'll be out in this process. Training is the second thing, but among many others. But so far, we have heard a lot about leadership, in this process. So the next questions I like to pose on, that the government cannot do everything. Of course, the theory also tells us the government should not do everything, right? They should steering, right? rather than, they should leading rather than steering together. Therefore, public-private partnership is so important. So I want to ask Mr. Hai, you have been working a lot with the clients. So what would be the role of the PPP, public-private partnership?
All right, thank you. So first of all, we understand that the public and private partnership play a very crucial role in developing countries. Whereas a country like also Vietnam face a lot of challenges in terms of deficits and in terms of the budget constraints. So the public and private partnership is very the key solution to solve the problem. If you look at the Vietnam specifics, so on average, the budget needed to fund for the infrastructure and social development program for the periods 31 to 25, and it's account for 31 to 32% of the GDP of Vietnam. But in fact, in reality, the state budget just meets 16 to 17% of that. So that's the reason why we really need for the public and private partnership to join hands to get the private sector engaged in the process of the industrial transformation. And also if you look at the portfolio of corporates in Vietnam, almost 98% SME with a very shortage of capital buffer. And on the transition here, we really need the long-term capital, long-term commitment. So that's why we really need, for a credit institution, we do the financing role in the market and also the key player in the capital market who can issue have the firm with a long-term capital that can join hand with the government for the own infrastructure development to support the industrial transition. So the public and private partnership is a very key role for our society of our transition. Yeah.
In any country, we can see that. Vietnam also have a lot, but I think we have to be more, have more. Anna, can you elaborate more from your point of view with rich experience?
Yes. So PPPs are goal-based long-term investment plans. And that makes them exactly the right topic for addressing this challenge. We all know the benefits, as you've identified, of achieving industrial transformation, and we have the twin challenges of achieving zero emissions and social development goals. The power of setting these goals and then backcasting from that success is what is transformational. So therefore, the power of PPPs is that they are a well understood structure that enables us to embed the goal in the ordinary course of business and government and financial incentives. I suggest add a fourth P, philanthropy. The World Economic Forum has published case studies of the successful PPPs because philanthropy also has funded excellent research and collaboration on what good looks like for best practice in achieving zero emissions industrial transformation. So the most important step here is to set the goal and embed it in the financial incentives that a PPP can be structured around in a specific location, for a specific sector, with multiple parties. And that can include repurposing existing subsidy support and attracting new investment. Setting that goal, adding net zero to your existing industrial transformation goals is the other opportunity for PPPs.
Fantastic.
Thank you. And if you'll excuse me, I now need to do the signing. My
I
apologies.
know, yeah. So give a round of applause, a big hand to Anna because she has to leave now for the MOEs. But we're still here, right? Thank you, Anna. Question 7, question 6 actually also about PPP, but see we have limited of time, so I skip this question. I go straight to the SME questions, which is majority of Vietnamese firm is. So question 7, I would like to hear from Mr. Stewart. What key strategies that SMEs can adopt to overcome high logistics cost, capital shortage, but in order to move off the global value chain? That's going to be very challenging, right?
Very challenging, and I can only address pieces of that, so I'll look to my colleagues to answer other parts. Of course, a lot of our startups are aspiring SMEs, and a lot of our scale-ups are SMEs, so it's a common challenge. I think this is one of the areas where the physical meets the digital and meets the finance as well. So we're dealing with a lot of new fintechs that can actually help the SME supply chain by providing the really important cash flows that would otherwise make capital that much more difficult to get a hold of. So I think that's point 1, is to think in an integrated way about the finance and the physical nature of your business, your supply chain. The second one, and one of our scale-ups actually, we met it before COVID, but COVID kind of really hit home. It's to take a critical evaluation of your supply chain. This is an organization that deals broadly in the IoT energy sector, and what they recognized was that they had a 70-day supply chain. They completely re-engineered their design, kept control of the ownership of critical IP, of the critical componentry, but standardized the design and then got multiple sourcing strategies. They brought down that supply chain to 7 days from 70 days. Phenomenal thing. The final thing though, and it goes right back to where is the customer value, right? And I think it's really important. We can chase we can enter into a race to the bottom to be the cheapest, but if you're expensive and you can meet other aspects of value for your customer, then you focus on that part rather than chasing your tail. So I think the important thing is to critically understand the problem you're trying to solve for your customer and be really, really clear on the value that you deliver before you start re-engineering.
Fantastic. Since time is limited, I skip a few questions, but I ask the important one, right? So workforce, everyone find it difficult, to keep them up to date, to give and recruit and retain them in order to survive and thrive in this environment. So I move to question number 10, and I would like to ask Mr. Arnold about the critical skills should firms focus to develop their workforce to ensure the success during the industrial transformation. So can you elaborate about that?
Yeah, thanks. First, I think it's a very good question, and I like that you put critical skills and not critical knowledge, because I think knowledge is becoming even more a commodity, and the question is really about the skills, the ability that our workforce have. I would say two dimensions. There is industry-specific skills and cross-industry. I think industry-specific skills, being in industry, banking, energy, there's a few set of future skills that, by industry, it's primordial to develop, And for example, I take energy, complex engineering, ability to design multi-commodity systems is one example. Or if you take in consumer or banking, data architecture or data science, ability to extract data and analyze it is critical. So that's by industry, and I say for different business, each business leader should identify this. Then cross-industry, I will name three future skills that I think are critical. One, it was mentioned, agile way of working, agility. End of the day, it's moving so fast, so the question is how do we enable people to capture these changes and integrate them? It's one. Number 2, leadership also. I think giving the foundations of leadership to the manager, to the teams, to manage these changes. And we have seen clients actually broken because of lack of middle management leadership. And number 3 I will give is relationship building and influence. I think when we think about it, this new transformation is about Gen AI, commoditizing knowledge, robotics and automation. So if we put, if we think in next 5 to 10 years, all of this will have, commoditized many fields, what will remain is actually ability to create relationship, and influence people. So even inside BCG, we put relationship building as a priority skills at the moment.
Fantastic. Before I go to the final question where I ask the key message from all panelists, I want to go back to question 9, please. I'd like to ask Sharon, most of our firm is quite small, right? So how can small firm prioritize investment, right, in order to invest in research innovation so that they ensure they remain competitive during the industrial transformation?
Yeah, thank you. So yes, while it's true that small businesses might face greater challenges in adopting and developing new practices and solutions, they can still reap significant benefits from the industrial transformation. And I think specifically because it is much aligned with the global shift towards circular economy. Because first and foremost, the circular economy is about using resources efficiently and reducing waste, and that reflects, for example, in reducing waste treatment costs. And this is an important issue for small entities and businesses. So as for limited options for investments in R&D in small firms, so I would say that there is no need to reinvent the wheel, not all the time. It might already exist, the solutions. So I think that small businesses need to seek access for knowledge or cooperation to co-create new solutions if they are not already exist. So circular economy platforms that were mentioned quite a lot today, and I'm happy for that, they act as bridges for information sharing that small businesses often lack. So small actions, when combined, can lead to significant change. While independent development can be daunting, of course, and perhaps collaborating with others facing similar challenges is the answer. For me, that's exactly where network governance shines and circular platforms come in the picture. Moving to circular economy and to a more circular model as part of the industrial transformation after acting in a linear economy for decades is indeed a big challenge. So my advice would be connecting to circular economy platforms that can provide access to valuable information like existing solutions, like the whole supply chain, challenges faced by other businesses already, and even government support and funding opportunities. For instance, as a circular economy platform, we constantly receive inquiries about needs, about solutions and partnership opportunities. There are often hackathons or competitions that publicize challenges and offer a lot of information on case studies and success stories from all over the world. So all of this is relevant to both large and especially maybe to small entities.
Thank you so much. Very great and insightful. I have the final question whereby all of our panelists will say 2 keywords to advise all of our business community here. But I wait for 5 minutes. I want to hear response from business. The survey come back because the internet connection that caused. But many people already put in. So can you get Menti back, please? And I want to hear from you, right? Because they and government, we have Mr. Hai and many people there. Can you go back to the Menti? And we can see the response from our audience. Do a quick scan. If you do already, that's fine. Do it again. Next one. So, I think you back to the QR code because many people might not. Yeah, you see a lot of people already enter, but maybe if you not do, can you do the QR code again? If you haven't, if you're done, then good. Then check your mobile phone again and see the answer. Can you go to the next slide, please? There, the answer. Right, the answer. Next slide. So these are the challenges that they face. You can see here from our audience. So if you have a look at human resource, right? Funding, finance, technologies. A lot of people talk about finance and things like that. and instruction details. So the needs, many people even don't know what is circular economy about, right? So those things is the challenge that we face. Next slide, please, Sam. Next questions. So now I'd like you to look in your phone, and then can you what kind of supports, right? Can you hit the support in your phone, please? Can you check your phone and enter and then submit? If you, yeah, you can see that a lot of people rated. What would be what kind of supports that you need the most? Do the single one that is more suitable for you. I'll give you 10 more seconds, right? Go ahead. Not so many people have the phone right now. Because the first one, the internet connections was a bit weak, so the team changed the internet connections just now. So from what I see here, the outcome from live survey, I think majority people like policy incentive, tech breaks, for example, or skill human resource. So policy, human resource, that's the two things that they need the most, right? More people now, policy, right? So I hope, Mr. Hai, there, you can also consult with your boss and our leaders in the city, and also our government try to, immediately have them, because we have issue of, having sufficient policy and incentive. Next slide, please, Sam. Next questions. What challenge? So these are the challenges. How can you supply to global firm? We call lead firm, right? So I like you to see, you see the challenge. Can you tick there 3 options and submit, please? It seems like they stressed all over the place, right? So sustainability compliance is quite widespread. So everything is challenging. Interesting. Yeah, but we have 5 from the certification auditing, right? So our global firm normally need more auditing, transparent doing business. Our firm here needs to be prepared for that. You cannot have 2 books in your company, which is very popular, right? So you have to have very transparency way. But again, sustainability compliance, and what else? That's the 2 most one, the chứng nhận và kiểm tra và tuân thủ bền vững. You see that now it's very difficult for us to do those things. Okay, good. Next slide, please, Sam. We have 2 more questions, a very quick one. So can you tell us which supports would benefit you the most in this one? So if the government provide you support, so which one you need the most? Can you choose, please, from your phone and hit submit? So Mr. Hai, you can have a look, and Hai can have a look and see what the firm needs the most now. Policy again, incentive, everything policy, right? Policy. So it seems they're ready, but they need the government, have them. See, it's a lot of people saying policy, tech breaks, and incentive policy. I wish we have more time so that Mr. Hai can stand up and say some commitment, some promise to our business environment. But we don't have time, yeah. I know. So again, this policy, that's what I need. We do a lot of research recently, and we have the law, but implement the law detail, we don't have it. Delay 2-3 years, and the business community cannot do with that, cannot cope with that, right? Final question, please, Sam. So this is the final questions, right? So what are the areas industrial transformation is most urgent for your firm right now? That's the last one. So we want to see and how can green transitions. What else? Yep. Okay, so we almost reached an end to our presentations, but we still have 5 minutes to get the answer from the audience. So anyone have burning questions for our audience before they say 2 keywords, right? So any question, the team can put the question to our audience, please. The mic, please. So again, we see the difficulty now. Any question from audience for our panelists? Yes, we have one lady there. Quickly, here. Yeah, we have two. Quickly, please.
Tôi là Lại Thu Trúc ở thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Tôi sẽ hỏi ngắn gọn thôi.
Vâng.
Tôi đã lắng nghe các diễn giả trong phiên toàn thể cũng như phiên này nói về cái vấn đề mà chuyển đổi công nghiệp. Thì rõ ràng là chúng ta không phải là chỉ đơn thuần là Việt Nam chắc chắn phải cùng tham gia với thế giới để chuyển đổi công nghiệp 4.0, mà chúng ta còn đề ra cái mốc thời gian, cho nên không chỉ phát triển bền vững mà còn phải phát triển đúng tiến độ. Do vậy tôi muốn hỏi, nhân có các chuyên gia trong nước và chuyên gia quốc tế, thì xin quý vị là đưa ra cái khuyến nghị là Việt Nam nên chọn mũi nhọn nào để tạo ra cú hích, để không những phát triển bền vững mà có thể phát triển đúng tiến độ. Vì thời gian không còn nhiều nên tôi sẽ không hỏi thêm nữa.
Thank you.
Cảm ơn.
The questions would be, which area should we focus in this industry? We can't do everything, right? Stuart, would you mind answer anyone? Yeah. Which area, which industry that we should focus?
Which industry should focus? I think this comes back to where government can play a role in identifying where is Vietnam's comparative advantage. We see huge opportunities, for example, in agriculture and food. That's where those policy settings are so important to say where can Vietnam be world famous for what it does. So comparative advantage focus.
Ông trả lời không cụ thể nhưng mà ngành nào mình có lợi thế cạnh tranh nhất? I see one more hand. Yes, maybe the last questions. Keep it short. Don't. Yeah, please. Keep it short. Ngắn gọn anh nhé.
Chúng tôi là doanh nghiệp chuyên về vận chuyển khách du lịch, cái xe buýt 2 tầng double deck bus, hop on hop off. Chúng tôi muốn chuyển đổi thành xe điện 2 tầng. Nhưng mà hiện nay các cái cơ chế chính sách chưa có rõ ràng để nhập khẩu. Vậy thì chúng tôi sẽ làm gì trong quá trình mà chuyển đổi như vậy được?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
His question is, he operated double decker for tourists in city, right? He wants to transfer to EV, it's an electronic vehicle. There's no policy yet. So what can he do in this case? Maybe Agno, you are from Israel. Yep.
Yes.
Sarah.
So I can just give an example of something that we did last month.
Yep.
So the Israeli Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform just identified also the ELV and the EV as something that is not regulated in Israel. So we just did like a research, a global research about policy and regulation, and we submitted it to the Environmental Ministry. Hopefully they will promote the legislation. They have the EPR scheme at place, and that stimulates the industry to build the plants and everything that you need in the end of the day to promote this. And it is very important, I think.
I think tôi xin nói bằng tiếng Việt. Tôi nghĩ câu hỏi của anh rất hay, nhưng mà câu hỏi của anh không chỉ cho diễn giả ở đây mà cho các đồng chí lãnh đạo, có đúng không ạ? Đó là một cái message mà cộng đồng doanh nghiệp đang rất là đau khổ, mà tôi nghĩ đôi khi thành phố cũng không giải quyết nổi, bởi vì những cái việc đó là từ trung ương. Bởi vì anh ra luật gần đây có những cái luật liên quan về circular economy, không có cái implementing details để mà giải quyết, và cái việc đó sẽ triển khai doanh nghiệp chúng ta. Do đó một lần nữa rất mong chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau, bởi vì trong cái phiên này chúng ta thấy là không chỉ doanh nghiệp, không chỉ government mà nhiều bên, trong đó chính phủ vẫn là quan trọng nhất, nhưng mà chính phủ không nên làm hết tất cả mọi thứ. Đó là cái thông điệp. Bây giờ tôi sẽ có 5 giây cho mỗi người. Đây là cái final, cái thông điệp cuối cùng của diễn giả gửi cho quý vị. So if you have 5 seconds to give 2 keywords, right? Because time's up already, to our audience here. What would you advise them? 2 keywords. Let me start from...
Call to action. Innovate, collaborate. 2 words.
Digital green transition is not a trend anymore, it's a must. And also the upskilling workforce to ensure the smooth transition.
Plan and start. Make a plan, make a start.
Leading by example and resilience. Actually what I try to tell myself.
I would say circular economy stakeholders platforms that are all over the world are going to change it.
tất cả mọi người, mọi nơi trên thế giới đều thay đổi. Nếu chúng ta không thay đổi, chúng ta sẽ bị sa thải. Thì next slide please. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to once again go back to the question earlier. We need to transform. We can't stay away from it. That's the why we need to do that. Final slide, that's what you take away. So here, you need to embrace. You can't stay away from it. This is the key message for our business. I'd like once again to thank you all the presenter and also our panels for today. I know it's a bit late, 5 minutes late, but we eager, we hungry for knowledge, right? Not only food. So I want to thank all of you for all of the participants, particularly our panelists, presentation speakers today, for your insightful, making your time. Many people come from Australia, Israel, Africa. Many people come to join us today. So on behalf of the citizens and of the city, I'd like to offer my special thanks to all of you. Thank you so much. Xin cảm ơn tất cả mọi người. Thank you.
Vâng, xin được trân trọng cảm ơn điều phối viên và các diễn giả đã thảo luận rất sôi nổi. Và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị tại phiên đối thoại chính sách cùng với Thủ tướng Chính phủ, bắt đầu diễn ra vào lúc 13 giờ 30 phút chiều nay cũng tại Wabalat Phạm Văn Đồng. Xin trân trọng cảm ơn và hẹn gặp lại.